Hey guys, this is Tauna. Today we're going to be talking about Celeste Rune Knight. So she is one of the new commanders revealed for the upcoming Final Fantasy set from Final Fantasy VI, and she is Mardu. She is looking absolutely bonkers. So first of all, you can cycle your hand when she enters. You discard any number of cards from your hand, then you draw that many plus one. And then whenever a creature enters from your graveyard or is cast from your graveyard, you get to put a plus one on each creature you control if it's, one or more other creatures. So if you bring back like three things at once, you still only get one trigger from her there. However, you do get to put a plus one on each of your creatures, which can be crazy. There is reasons that this new commander is kind of starting to take off within the CEDH community now. So this is her, borderless. I think they called them borderless arts, a character kind of focused art here. One thing that I noticed is that I actually have the number in the background of what games it's from. So you got the big VI in the background there. And then we've got the normal art over here as well. The great thing I like as well is that she could fit right in with like a Final Fantasy, sorry, not Final Fantasy, with like a Magic set. Like I could see her within like old Tarkir or something like that. Like I don't think that she's too far out there, and most people kind of, unless they actually know that she's from Final Fantasy, aren't really going to notice. And it just looks absolutely bonkers. So let's start out by talking about, the fact that she's from this Revival Trance deck. So this deck is primarily focused around filling up your graveyard. So that's either through milling or through discarding, as she does, or Terra does the milling there, and then reanimation, kind of bringing things back from the graveyard to the battlefield. So she fits in perfectly. She does both those things. She fills up your graveyard with stuff, and then she does procs based off of reanimation. She doesn't reanimate herself, but she does, obviously the rest of the deck is going to have some stuff in there that's able to bring stuff back, reanimate stuff, and she will be able to fit perfectly into there. Honestly, I think she's potentially even more interesting than Terra as the face commander. Terra's cool, don't get me wrong, but I really like Celeste. She just looks really cool. So why CEDH? First of all, she is easily flicker and blinkable for searching for your win cons with card draw, right? You flicker her, she discards all the cards from your hand, and then you draw that many. However, you can discard any number of cards, and then you draw that many plus one. So if you discard 0 cards, right, then you get to draw 1 card as far as I'm aware. Or, say you discard 3 cards, you get to draw that many. You get to draw 4, right? Like it's an optional wheel. You don't need to wheel everything. So it's a way to fill up your graveyard. And then you've got powerful cards like Underworld Breach after you fill up that graveyard to be able to make use of all those things in there. It's a great way to be able to search for your win cons throughout your deck. You can just, flicker her continuously until you get your win cons out, and then boom. She's super easy. Also, that's like a, asymmetrical, right? It's only you who does it. So it's not giving everyone the advantage of that. She's just super easy for those persist, slash sacrifice combos for infinite mana, infinite ETBs, infinite plus ones thanks to her ability onto everything else as well. Because once you sacrifice something with persist, as long as it doesn't have a -1/-1, it goes to the graveyard, then it comes back with that -1 counter on it. It then gains a +1 counter because of Celeste, and then you can sacrifice it again. And then it's just going to continuously be able to do that. It's huge. It's a combo piece in your command zone. Like you're going to have her in your command zone. You've got her available all the time and stuff. And she's only 4 mana, which is great, right? Like that's not super expensive. That's, potentially like turn 2, turn 3, you're going to be able to get her out, start kind of cycling through everything, get everything out, and then just be able to go from there and get a huge amount of value from her. Now, I'm not going to be talking about a huge amount of CEDH. I don't really play CEDH too much, but I will kind of talk more casually about it because I kind of, focus more on that on my channel. But I will say, there is potential here for, those like tier 5, bracket 5 decks, bracket 4 decks easily. Even like bracket 3, I think that she could easily be bracket 3. She's just going to be able to do crazy amounts of stuff once you kind of get some of those synergies in there, and once you get some of those really easy to pull off combos. So this is like one of the combos that I was talking about there with infinite mana. You use Skirk Prospector, you sacrifice your red Murderous Redcap, you get a red mana. Murderous Redcap dies, comes back with a -1. You know, your commander procs there, puts a +1 onto everything, and then you can sacrifice it again and just continuously do that. You've got infinite red mana with this. You've got the infinite Murderous Redcap procs there as well. You've also got infinite +1s onto everything else thanks to Celeste. It's just, yeah, it is going to be crazy. If you've got other, you know, ways to be able to deal more damage and stuff out there too, it's just going to proc all those. Boom, it's going to be insane. And then Underworld Breach is the other one there. Each non-land card in your graveyard has escape. So all of those cards in your graveyard have escape now. And thanks to, you know, having Celeste there, you've got a full graveyard. You're going to have a full graveyard, and then you can just bring back all your win cons from it, and boom, now you can just be able to play out, just, you know, just win and just get a huge amount of stuff going there. Now, obviously, you've got that second part there of, you know, having to exile 3 cards from your graveyard to be able to do that, but you can fill up your graveyard with everything really, really easily with her. All right, so into some more casual stuff. Dehard is going to work really well with her because you've got the fact that Dehard chuck stuff into your graveyard. Then you can reanimate stuff with the Dehard deck and stuff. She also gives Celeste Vigilance, Lifelink, and Indestructible. So you get all those +1s out onto her. You swing in with that huge Vigilance, Lifelink, Indestructible creature. You've got Karmic Guide to be able to reanimate stuff constantly. Chainer and reanimate, just there's a huge amount of reanimate stuff that is going to really, really synergize well with her. Just be able to, you know, bring stuff back from the graveyard that you filled up with her from, you know, being able to either discard the hard hand once, or if you've, you know, managed to flicker her, you've got, you know, a whole bunch of stuff in there, and then boom, bring stuff back. Stuff like Shieldred and Alicia, both, you know, big reanimators that only reanimate one thing at once, but they're both going to work really well with her. I think Alicia is one of the cards that's just sleeper, really strong from Foundations. A more casual card because you can only reanimate one thing per turn, as well as the fact that it's based off of whatever her power is, but you're going to be able to get that kind of reanimation, especially, you know, if you're not going to for CEDH levels of stuff, if you're just kind of just below that, it's going to be great for that. We got Victimized, one of my favorite cards of all time. Sacrifice a creature, bring 2 things back from your graveyard. That's going to give you a proc for her, be able to put a +1s out on stuff, and potentially, you know, start your loops and combos from there too. We've got stuff like Flayer of Hatebound and Breathless Night. Other stuff that gives procs based off of things leaving the graveyard. So, you know, getting that Undying trigger on him, you know, will be able to proc himself, as well as the fact that anything else that's leaving and bringing back just kind of is going to be able to deal that damage out. You got Breathless Night here. Just put +1s onto Breathless Night constantly and get a huge amount of them based off of whatever you're doing with your combos, or even if you're just bringing one thing back per turn. Stuff that is whenever stuff leaves your graveyard as well as huge here. So, you know, be able to create a huge amount of black horrors. Now, only once per turn, unfortunately, for that one, but still, you've got stuff like Skeleton Crew, Tormod, Thran Vigil, Sir Conrad, all trigger off of things leaving your graveyard. So, you know, you've got some burn here from Sir Conrad. You've got Thran Vigil chucking out +1s onto stuff, and these guys all creating different creature tokens. All right, next we've got like stuff like Buried Alive and Entomb. So I wanted to talk about these because if we're playing a reanimated deck, we don't necessarily going to kind of go through our whole deck. We can use these kinds of things to speed it up, get those things into our graveyard straight away that we want to be able to reanimate to get our kind of combos going off, or just to be able to start, you know, getting some bigger kind of reanimation targets going. Cauldron Haze and Cauldron of Souls. I talked about a little bit about persist, and both of these are going to proc with those. They're going to be able to give persist to our creatures, and then get a huge amount of different, you know, creatures back. If they've got a board wipe going on, give everything persist. They all come back, and then you've got Celeste giving them all +1s. They're only going to get 1 +1 because they all return at the same time, but still, that's a huge amount of +1s that are going to go out, cancel out all those -1s, and stuff like Cauldron of Souls, you can use it again and again each turn. So you can just, you know, give everything persist. You could sack it all with Like, I guess you could either give it all persist, and then you could sack it all with like Ashnod's Altar. They all come back one at a time, because you're sacking them one at a time, and then they all come back, get a +1. The first one gets 1+1. Then the second one, and then the second one will give that one a +1 counter, and cancel it out and stuff. So you're going to get a huge amount of kind of +1s out from there, and a great amount of kind of procs here from Cauldron of Souls. You just need kind of a continuous sacrifice outlet, kind of like Ashnod's Altar or anything else that kind of gives like Phyrexian Altar or anything that just gives a free sacrifice that you don't need to tap it for and stuff. Harmonic Prodigy looks like in a more casual deck, this is going to be great because now all of a sudden Celeste is going to trigger twice each time she triggers. So she's going to put out those +1s and a second time, or you could wheel 2 times as well. Persistent Constrictor here, just another kind of persist creature that's going to go decently well in a more casual game. Haunted One, if you are focused on a certain creature type, say you wanted to focus on humans, right? You could use Haunted One here to give all of those Undying. So then when they die, if they have no +1s on them, they're going to come back there. Not great because of the fact that it's Undying. Undying isn't huge with her, but it does mean that, they are going to come back at least once and get the proc off her, for her once. Unfortunately, if they die again, they're not going to, unless you have ways to be able to remove those counters, but still. Gleeful Arsonist, boom, Undying. It's going to be great. Minthara. I love Minthara with this because you could get, the sacrifice, with the sacrifice, start building up those experience counters and then buff up all your creatures thanks to them. She is only 1 per turn, unfortunately. But with it, on your first turn, you've got, +1, +0. Then you've got +2, +0. You could build it up really, really great. And because of the fact that it's experience counters, if Minthara dies, you could bring her back and you've still got those experience counters sitting there having built up. So say you've still got 6 experience counters, everything still has +6, +0. You just need to, bring Minthara back and then back online. And then finally, kind of the flicker stuff. There's going to be lines with Abdul Adrian for CEDH that are going to be, flickering him and then flickering out Celeste and then bringing him back and then boom. Now you're just going to continuously be able to flicker them, create a huge amount of soldiers they can sacrifice, etc. And then like stuff like Ephemerate, just kind of normal flicker bounce stuff, flicker blink stuff that's going to work well with her. So I'd love to hear from you guys as to what you think. I think that honestly, she has potential to be a really, really strong casual commander, really strong, tier 4, tier 3, etc. commander, but also up into that CEDH. We're going to potentially see her there. Not potentially being the very, very tippy top meta there, but still like a really strong commander potentially. So I'd love to hear from you guys as to what you think. Have a great day and goodbye.